Welcome to our video series on youth work during coronavirus, where we're speaking to some of our local youth and community workers about the impact of COVID-19 on their youth work practice and how they're overcoming that and maintaining contact with those that they work with at this time. My name's Paulette Sawyers. I'm the Joint Programme Leader and Senior Lecturer on the BA Honours Youth and Community Work degree at Newman University. Today, I'm speaking to one of our alumni, Rae-Anne Preece, and Hayley Wollacott, who is a final year student on a criminology degree at Newman University, who both work as detached youth workers for the Anglican Youth Project in Bromsgrove. So Hayley and Rae-Anne, I don't know who wants to go first, but do you want to introduce yourselves, tell us your role, and tell us a little bit about the project that you work on?
After you, Hay. So I'm Hayley, and I am currently in my final year at Newman, and I got into the project through one of my lecturers actually at Newman. He knew that I was from Bromsgrove, so he thought this was the perfect opportunity for me. So I started the project on a voluntary basis, so did a couple of months as a voluntary worker, and then as the project built and as Rae-Anne established herself more as a youth worker, I then became an employee. So what I do is we do outreach on the streets of Bromsgrove, but then I also do admin as well, so I attend a lot of meetings with other partners in Bromsgrove, and also write up like review forms and all kind of things like that after outreach sessions.
Okay, thank you.
So my name's Rae-Anne Preece. I got my JNC qualification from Newman. I've been employed at the Anglican Youth Anglican Church since 2018, July. Initially, the project was set up to just go out and engage with young people, to just to get to know them. And to produce a video at the end of that displays some of the thoughts and feelings of the young people that was living in Bromsgrove, mainly issues surrounding some of the areas that come up in Bromsgrove was quite low on the deprived index. Is it the MDI index? Yeah. So that was the areas that we mainly focused on. To try and engage with some of the young people. And throughout the project, we've kind of engaged with other multi-agencies like schools, the Community Safety Partnership, the Sports and Development, basically to get some positive activities set up within the area, which is probably what stage we're at now. So yeah, we've probably just got to the stage of where we've set up a music workshop. So we brought in a youth worker who's a music mentor to... It's more centre-based to get young people to attend, and we've had real success rates with that.
Brilliant.
So far.
Brilliant. So we're all in this weird phase of our lives in COVID-19 and in quarantine and lockdown and everything. And quite recently, the National Youth Agency released a report called Out of Sight, Vulnerable Young People. And it's as a response to the COVID-19 situation and the impact it's having on young people. Their report highlighted three particular concerns, though. One was around their concern of the increase in mental health issues for young people as a result of the whole situation we're in. They haven't got contact with schools, with teachers, with youth workers. They're not out and about. They're not socialising as much as they did. Their second big concern was about young people who they referred to as being not in education, employment or training, and young people who are consistently absent from school. So their concern is, now we're in quarantine, who's in contact with them, and what's the impact of not being in something structured going to be on them. And their final top concern was for those young people who are at risk at home. So those young people who might be living in a situation where there are it's called the toxic trio of addiction, mental health and possible domestic violence that is happening at home, that the current situation means they can't leave home to seek a place of safety with a youth worker, for example. So they're the top three concerns from the National Youth Agency. You guys are detached workers, so you're out and about. Your job is to be out and about. Have you got any thoughts on what the NYA's top concerns are and what are some of the challenges that you faced as a result of COVID-19, and how have you overcome some of them?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the first challenge that we faced was, how am I going to do my job? You know, I'm a detached youth worker and I'm not allowed to go out. So how am I going to do that? How am I going to contact the young people? All those kind of things. So then we had a meeting to suggest other ways. So obviously moving our services online. And as Rae-Anne mentioned earlier about the music sessions, so we now use Snapchat to contact those young people that regularly come to music sessions, and we try and do like online virtual calls with them, to contact them in that way. So that's how we've overcome that. Rae-Anne?
Yeah, we did go out on outreach last week for the first time, didn't we? I mean, if we're referring to the neat part of the MYA, we've definitely come up to some young people last week, didn't we? One person in particular who we know is not in any education before COVID-19, is not in any employment. It was quite worrying, actually. I mean, to observe. I mean, he looks quite dishevelled. This one young person did. You know, he had long hair. You could see he hadn't had a haircut. His trainers wasn't, you know, to the best condition. And we noticed, didn't we, that, you know, we could see that his mental health had deteriorated somewhat. Right. We don't know whether he was aware of that. But yeah, of course, he looked quite glad to see us, because we just popped up out of the blue. And
he's one of the ones that we know as well has problems in the family with around drugs and stuff. So we know that he's one of the ones that does do drugs in front of parents, and parents give him that. So yeah, we know that he is one of those ones, and he is probably classed as one of those vulnerable ones during this pandemic.
So it's really important then that actually, even with everything going on, the fact that you were able to do a little bit of outreach, and just for him to physically see that somebody was there, might have been extremely important for him at that time, with everything else that's going on at the moment as well.
Definitely, yeah. We was definitely well received, we felt, didn't we? I'd say the only issue we did have was with the distancing there, not taking it seriously.
Right.
And it was a case where I did have to say, like, whoa, step back, and, you know, and kind of, you know, reaffirm them boundaries, like, look, we've got to keep 2 metre distance. I don't know how we're going to get around that. You know, it's still important that we go out and speak to these young people, but obviously safeguarding ourselves is very important.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like you've made that transition to the digital space with young people, which is becoming more and more talked about in terms of youth work, to be honest. That there are a lot of projects that are utilising the digital space in a really, you know, creative ways, innovative ways, where they're just kind of like, well, actually, this is the way forward. Have you been able to get in touch with all of your young people? Because there are some young people who, for one reason or another, are distrustful of the online space, or don't have access through poverty and those kinds of things, don't have access to the online space in the same way as everybody else. And have you come up against any challenges there, and have you got any thoughts about how that could possibly be overcome by by youth workers?
I mean, we've got a regular 4 young people that we try and engage with at least once a week through the music. Now, whether they want to engage or not. So I think the problem that we've faced is, yes, we're engaging with them on a regular basis, but they also pick and choose when they want to be engaged with now. So whereas before it'd be every Friday night, you'd come to the session and you'd stay there for 2 hours, whereas now they kind of have the choice if they want to do it or not. And I think because of the effects of COVID-19, I think their interest and their enthusiasm is probably lacking much more so than it was before.
Okay. So that physical contact is really important, but still you sustaining the project, still going, they have access. And choice is a big thing with youth work, right? It isn't about being mandatory, it's about the young people making a decision as to when and how they engage. And that's part of the beauty of the relationship you build with them, that they don't feel like you don't like them anymore because they're not engaging. They recognise they're growing as young people and they can make these choices, which I think is like a good thing for them. As challenging as it can be for workers, it's a good thing for the young people to realise that they can make a choice and opt in and out.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the main cores of youth work, isn't it, Paulette? Which is, you know, voluntary participation. So we have to be very careful. I mean, if I refer to my other job, my mentoring role, which has gone completely online because it's in schools, and obviously the councils just won't allow us to go into the schools, even to the vulnerable young people. Because obviously schools are still open for vulnerable young people. You know, if I'm talking from that aspect, they're just not allowing any face-to-face contact whatsoever. So the fact that we have got the, you know, a little bit of leeway with the detached project where we can still go out and show that face, it's massive refreshing for me and for the young people, I should imagine. Because that face-to-face connection, I think some of the young people have contacted a lot. Yeah, great. You know, you can link in and, you know, are you available now? Some of them, I think it depends on age and their social groups and where they're at. You know, some of them are in year 11. So they're doing a lot of studying still together. So that's still keeping that little community together. Again, it's the kids that are neat that I'm finding that are standing out to me. And especially the toxic trio. Yeah.
So in light of that then, what you were just saying, Rae-Anne, about the toxic trio and those who are described as not in education, employment or in training and those kinds of, that group of young people, do either of you have any thoughts on the importance of youth and community workers at this time, post COVID-19, in terms of engaging with and reconnecting with those young people to kind of get them back interested in something? Do you think it's something important and something that youth and community workers can do and play a part in, or do you think it needs to be placed elsewhere for other people to respond to that?
Youth workers, I think it's very important. I don't feel teachers are equipped with that skill. I don't think they're equipped with the time either to be able to not saying that they haven't got that skill. Obviously, personally, they may have that skill, but then you've got, oh, I don't get paid for that. You know, I don't get paid to be dealing with, you know, that a lot of these young people had problems and trauma pre-COVID-19. There was no money in services pre-COVID-19. What chance have we got now? It's post-COVID-19 when it comes to austerity and young people getting missed and the gaps, you know, they're getting missed in throughout the schools and the social services. I mean, an issue for me at the minute is the young people that if any safeguarding issues come to us, we have to go to Worcester. Is it what, Worcestershire Family First High? That's who our direct point of contact is now.
Yeah.
Issue that I've got with that is that there was an issue with these services prior to COVID-19. Now they're probably inundated with caseload. You know, what if there is room for youth workers to intervene there and support that family? Then that is definitely, I'd like to see something less social workers going in and taking young people, you know, because they can see that, you know, that their needs aren't being met, and probably maybe more partnership working with social workers and youth workers together to say, actually, is it really necessary for this young person to go? Can we not do more to support the family and the young people? Because then they just get lost in a different system. We have lost one of our young people he just moved to Birmingham.
Yeah.
So he's gone under Birmingham. He's 16, 17. So he's in that gap anyway, where they don't really keep a check on you. And, you know, again, we're playing that important role, aren't we? I know Hayley's been messaging to see, you know, the music mentor's been contacting him to reach out to say, look, you know, we're from Birmingham as well. If you still need us, you know, we're still here. So I think we're very, very fluid when it comes to relationship building and intervention work.
Yeah. Brilliant. And I think it's even more important as well for when the transition back into school happens, because I think for us too on our detached work, we have a lot of respect from the young people, and we've got a good rapport with a lot of them. And I think that if teachers were trying to transition them back into school, they might not respect that, or they might not acknowledge that. But I think with us, they probably listen to us a little bit more, especially with like their relationship with the police. If we said to do something, they'd probably do it, but if the police, they'd have a completely different thing. So I think that positive rapport that we do have with them is also going to help for the future as well, to get them back into, you know, the normal school kind of things. And
so definitely you're highlighting partnership working and the fact that youth and community workers are really fluid and can transition and cut across disciplines and use their skill set in a multitude of different ways, whether that be relationship building, whether that be in the more formal settings of attending meetings, providing that one-to-one mentoring support, providing the family support. There are a multitude of skills that youth workers can apply in a lot of contexts, and that's valuable. And actually, maybe, hopefully, there'll be some thinking by local authorities up and down the country about how they bring together mandatory services like education, social services, etc., alongside the professional workings of youth and community workers, and how they have a different insight into the relationship that you've built with young people, and how working together there can be the best outcome for the families and the young people that you're working alongside, rather than it being a them and us situation, and seeing that as really fruitful, because ultimately it's about empowerment and kind of letting young people and communities and families be able to kind of function outside of having a multitude of support in their networks. Definitely. Great stuff. So I would like to say at this point, thank you very much for talking to me and answering my questions. I definitely applaud you for still being out there in a time of uncertainty, in a time of crisis, and still managing to sustain the relationships that you've got with young people, that the young people are still responding, and that they see that they have you as an outlet, which I think is to be applauded. And so I think definitely you need to kind of pat yourselves on the back, give yourselves that Thursday clap. And thank you for talking to me today. So if thanks for watching this video, and if you're interested in joining the BA Honours Youth and Community Work degree at Newman University, please click the link in the description box below, and there'll be a link to some information about the Anglican Youth Project also. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Rae-Anne, and thank you, Hayley.
Thanks, Paulette.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.